Hello, everyone, and welcome to this mini episode of Wine, Women, and Words. And joining me tonight, we actually have Michele.
Hello. I knew that it would happen eventually. I have lectures once a week, and since the professors, for the most part, they're all based in California. Some of them are somewhere else. But I knew eventually someone would schedule a lecture on Thursday night, and it finally happened. I almost made it through the entire graduate program without it happening, but not so much.
No, but that's okay because we will support you in your educational endeavors and we will work around it.
Thank you.
We had a great episode on Thursday with Mia, and I figured let's get in this nice little mini episode so we can catch up and talk about The Phantom's Apprentice, which you've been reading and I've already read, and I'm living vicariously through you. And really urging you to keep reading and read a lot because I want to be able to talk about some of this stuff with you. Because there's a lot to talk about in this.
It's pretty epic. I'm pretty in love with it already, so I'm really excited about Heather coming on the show. Now, my lecture, my professor does actually host a podcast herself. It's all about art and culture in California. So she gets it. Like, I emailed her and I said, I do this podcast and it's right the same night of the lecture. Can I leave early? Because the lecture is at 7 p.m. and our show starts at 8. So she was okay with that since the lecture is like 1 to 2 hours. But I can only miss one. Mm-hmm. So I'm saving that for Heather's episode because I definitely want to be there for that.
Yes, I want you there for that one. And also, this happens to be the month where we have mostly East Coast authors.
Of course.
Yeah, of course. So they all want the 7 o'clock time slot, which is fine. I'm perfectly okay with that. We just have to work around Michele. And unfortunately, last night it was your first real class, wasn't it? Last week?
Yeah, last Thursday was the first one.
And you could not skip out early for that one, unfortunately.
Yeah, the first one, it's all, the first week of class, you always have to definitely be there.
That's assuming you're a good student.
I used up all my bad student cards in high school, so I feel like now I really have to make the effort.
Yeah, I never really fully got it out of my system until I got to an actual 4-year school. That's when I actually started showing up for class most of the time.
Yeah, I work way better online than I do with actual classes that I have to go to. I found the true challenge is getting out of pajamas and into class, and this takes that out of the equation.
That's nice, yes. And then as you start to get older, your temperament for 18-year-olds really decreases, so it makes it harder to sit through a class with a bunch of best know-it-alls.
Yes, very true. I once had a girl raise her hand during it was like a history of broadcast class. Mm-hmm. And we were talking about all the inventions that propelled broadcasting to where we are today, and she raised her hand and she goes, what does VCR mean? I'm like,
oh gosh. You just need to leave this room. Do not come back. Kids these days, they do not know the joy of the terror of hearing that crunch and then slowly pulling out the videotape and thus all the film on your favorite Disney movie coming out with it.
I know that. Or having to hit record at just the perfect moment to record the show that you want to watch.
Mm-hmm.
And then having someone tape over it.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes, that happens so much.
But what are you drinking tonight?
I'm drinking the Outer Sounds, the Sauvignon Blanc.
Oh, isn't that good? I had that 2 weeks ago.
So did you have it both chilled and at room temperature?
I had it chilled.
Okay, I've had it chilled and at room temperature, And the flavor profile really changes on this one based on the temperament.
Ooh, really?
Yeah, like chilled, you get a lot more of that like candied lemon flavor.
Yeah, that's right. That's true.
And room temperature is just that straight up citrus. So I'm really enjoying it. What are you drinking tonight, Michele?
I'm drinking. So we just, we got really spoiled. We had 3 whole days of like 70-degree weather and sunshine.
Uh-huh.
So just to kind of put us back in check, we've had almost a week straight of thunderstorms.
Oh, it's cold
Um,
there?
so it was actually a little warm today. It was super humid, so it was warmer because of that. But so I switched back to red wine. So I'm having a Chop Shop Cabernet Sauvignon, which is very good. It's very very cozy, perfect for but the thunder like really kind of makes the whole evening with phantom and wine and thunder. I'm loving it.
Yes, it is. That is a good wine to go with a thunderstorm and with Phantom of the Opera too. I like that one a lot. But anyways, guys, if you want to try out these wines and see what we're talking about, you can go to www.trywink.com/www podcast. And you can discover really great wines just like these that we mentioned. Wink's wine experts, they select the wines matched to your taste, personalized to you, shipped right to your door, and they start at $13 a bottle because I think the Chop Shop was what, 13, 14?
I want to say something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think I went for most of my wine bottles were under $20 that I got on my last box. And yeah, they come right to your door, and the more you rate your wines, the more personalized they are. And it's a really great program. So be sure to go to www.trywink.com/www podcast. And that's Trywink spelled TRYWINC to get and you get $22 off your first shipment of wine because they're givers just like us. And I'm going to keep using that joke. So we were talking a little bit beforehand to see where Michele was, because this is one of those books where you have to be really careful when you're talking to somebody about the book, because every chapter gives away something new, some sort of twist, some sort of bend. So I had to know specifically where Michele was before we started the show. And you're right at the end of chapter 6, you said?
Yeah. So and I'm kind of assuming so. Mr. Delacroix is like kind of, I don't know if he's interested in Christine or if he is just kind of looking out for her in like a big brother type of way. But I'm kind of bummed out because I know how the story goes. Mm-hmm. So I know that he is not the one, but I kind of love him. Like, I'm low-key obsessed with him.
You're low-key obsessed?
Mm-hmm.
Or low-key?
I'm low-key obsessed.
I was going to say low-key obsessed. Yeah, either one really works. I really liked him as a character too. I think he starts to evolve. He starts to evolve and change as the story progresses, but not change too much that's out of his character. You start to get to know him more as the story progresses. He sticks around.
Yay!
And I'm going to look forward to our next talk, because I'm thinking what we're going to try to do, guys, I'm thinking is maybe try to throw in another mini episode of us talking about the Phantom's Apprentice in between Heather coming on the show, maybe, and this Thursday's episode, maybe? I'm putting Michele on the spot because I haven't discussed this with her.
We could throw in another mini episode. I'm sure we'll work it out.
Yeah, once you've read more into the book, once you've read Act 2. So you're going to have more reading assignments in addition to your school schedule.
Well, these reading assignments are reading assignments that I enjoy. Not that I don't enjoy my list of reading material.
But we're a fun class because you get to actually drink wine in this class.
But like I do, so totally picture Mr. Delacroix as Luke Evans, but like Gaston Luke Evans.
Yes, I can see that. And I love Gaston Luke Evans.
Because he can dress like, I can totally see him dressed like very dapper and with the top hat and being like the perfect social gentleman.
And devastatingly handsome at the same time. And slightly older. And yeah, I can see that. I like him. Now, like, are you going with this?
That's who I picture for Mr. Delacroix.
Mm-hmm. I like that. I like where you're going with it.
Do you have any cast ideas for Christine yet? Did you say that? And I can't remember.
I think you mentioned Blake Lively, and as long as she's I mentioned Blake Lively.
Yeah, you're
right. Because Christine is blonde. We have to keep remembering this because in my head I kept picturing her brunette, and Heather had to keep reminding me throughout the book. She writes it in the book. She's blonde. And in my head, I was like, no, she is a brunette. I don't care what your description says. She's going to be a brunette.
Because, in my mind, I keep seeing Emmy Rossum. So, yes, I do have to keep reminding myself that she is blonde.
Emmy Rossum. Remind me who that was again?
She played Christine in the movie.
Oh, yes. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, so, I mean, because this is one of those stories where where you're taking something that everybody knows. Everybody knows the Phantom of the Opera. We all know it. Mm-hmm. But Heather's doing this really great spin on it. She's just turning it completely on to the opposite side and looking at it from another perspective. And it gives the story so much more depth and light to it, and it makes it completely different and new again. Because, I mean, for a while, I kind of was getting tired of the Phantom of the Opera story. A little bit. Just a little bit.
Well, it's really interesting to think, when you meet Christine in the Phantom of the Opera, she's already, a successful opera singer. She's already famous. Everyone loves her already. But it's really interesting to see, like, this side of her where she comes from nothing, Mm-hmm. She and her father basically lived on the streets. She grew up in poverty, just going from one place to another, trying to make ends meet. And the only reason she's really accepted into this society now is because of, oh my gosh, why can't I remember her name?
And her benefactor who's taking her in, who is sickly herself. Madame Various. We're just gonna call her Madame B.
Yeah, she calls her Madame. So
Madame. We can just call her Madame.
Madame B. That's the only reason why Christine is living the life that she is because her dad had like the foresight to get her in good with the right people before he died.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, and I love the fact that she's into illusions. Mm-hmm. I love that. I love turn of the century illusionists, and I was just so excited. And it was so funny because when I was reading this, nobody else was reading it, and I couldn't talk to anybody else about it. So I literally was messaging Heather about this book, going, "Oh my God, and this just happened, and this just happened."
Yes, here at Wine Women Words, we stalk authors in the best possible way.
I don't like to consider it stalking so much as forcibly making them our friends.
It's more we conscript them into friendship. We love your book, therefore.
Yes, this is why every writer needs an editor. I see force, she says conscripted.
It's the gentle.
Yeah.
And I keep, for some reason, I know that this is like the wrong century, the wrong country, the wrong city. I keep expecting Houdini to pop up for some reason. Like, I don't know why, but in my mind.
Well, it's late 1800s, isn't it?
Yeah, so I guess it's not too far. I mean, Houdini was what, the early 1900s?
Yeah, well, because I think he was around 1920s going into the 1940s. because he did some spy work for the government.
So, I mean, he could be there, maybe floating around.
No, yeah, he's early 1900s. Yeah, he could be floating around, but yeah, wrong country completely because he's definitely U.S.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, he was like the 19s, right? Like the
yeah, because I don't even think he made it to World War II. Come to think of it, I think his spy work was done during World War I. I think.
That's another interesting individual that I need to research.
Yes, you need to research, and then you also need to read Rebecca's book, The Fascinating Life.
Mrs. Jack London, or
yeah,
Mrs. London, The Secret Life of Mrs. London, or something.
Yeah, exactly, because that'll give you some interesting insight into Houdini.
Yeah, it's on the shelf. I need to read that one.
Right along with all the other ones on the to be read shelf, because it just keeps growing and growing.
I know, it really does. But so Professor Delacroix, he's my current favorite, and I know Raoul is going to show up eventually, and I just don't like Raoul. I mean, I don't know how he's portrayed in the book, and maybe I'll like him, but I don't like Raoul.
I think you like him better in the book than in the musical, is my guess. Because I like him better in the book than in the musical. How do I put this without giving away any spoilers? I think he needs a bigger pair of balls in general, and therefore he's not my most favorite character.
Yeah, he was too pretty boy. Like,
yeah,
Dean, let me save you, and flit around in my tights and my sword.
He's gonna flit. This is good men in tights.
He flits. That's my mental image of Raoul, is flitting.
Oh my god, I cannot wait for you to get to the rest of the book, and you're going to have the image of him flitting around in the rest of the book. And I'm never going to be able to watch another Phantom of the Opera rendition without thinking of him flitting around on the stage.
Well, watch another rendition of Phantom of the Opera and tell me I'm wrong.
I might, just to try to prove you wrong. But then what's going to happen is I'm going to be like, damn you, Michele. I now see him flitting around everywhere.
I'm going to get that message going.
My favorite word.
Damn it, Michele. He actually flit across the stage. So if I see Raoul flitting across these pages, that's it for Raoul. I mean, not that I liked him that much to begin with.
You know, the thing about this book is, okay, so in the musical, I did not care for Christine as much.
Mm-hmm.
She's that, like, as Raoul sings, oh, you're not the bitch I thought you were. She's so much better. She's so much more complex.
Yeah, I haven't, I'm not that far into the book, but she's much more complex. She's much more aware of, like, what's going on around her. In the movie, the film adaptation, which is the only one that I've seen, so I don't know if the original musical is any different, but she was too, like, everything was happening to her. Like, she had no control over what was happening.
Yeah.
And in this one, she's at least, she's making things happen.
In the film adaptation, in that regards, it's very similar to the stage version, where she's reactionary, and she's very much, and that's part of that damsel in distress trope that you see in literature and in movies and comics, where things happen to the character and they happen to the girl, and she has to be rescued by her savior, which in the stage musical, it's Raoul.
Flits in and saves the day.
Flits in and saves the day. Literally, I picture him as it comes in, saving the day.
Hold on, Christine, I will save you.
I fit. I am now picturing Puck from A Midsummer Night's Dream.
And now, in mentally, he's part of Robin Hood Men in Tights.
My work here is done.
Like, his bestie is Robin of Locksley.
I think I'm going to have to watch that after the show now. I love all the men in tights because Carrie isn't Carrie Yules?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, the Wesley from Princess Bride. He's the main. Yes.
And he's coming out of something else. Isn't he's in like a new show, and everyone's like, "Oh my god!"
Oh no, he's in Stranger Things. He's gonna be on Stranger Things. He's playing the mayor of the town.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I remember the commercial for it, and I was like, "It's a big show, and everyone's freaking out that he's part of it now."
Oh my god, I'm so excited about that. Yes, I'm one of the people who's freaking out about that because I love that show and I love him, and I got to meet him once. And let me tell you, people, it's one of those situations where when you meet celebrities, they're not always as cool as they are on TV. Carrie, he's cooler, and he is more charming, and just as handsome.
To me, he will always be dressed in black with his little mask on. Not as hot without the mask.
Oh, yes, he is. Yes, he is.
I have a strange mind.
He's one of those people where you walk in the room and his charm just fills up the room. He doesn't even need to say anything. He's just that charming.
I just want to look at you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, even Ryan was just like, I'm just, you. I bow down to you.
See, I feel like he might make a good Raoul. He would make it charming.
Yes. And when he flitted, we wouldn't be annoyed with his flitting.
But he would stride in with purpose. Like he would be like,
he would make a good De La Cruz.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay, Luke Evans, you may have just gotten booted.
Which I think Luke Evans would be like, you know what? I totally understand.
He could be a good Phantom.
Maybe.
I don't know. I haven't met the Phantom yet, so maybe.
Be a good Phantom, you think?
Say it again?
Are you thinking Luke would be a good Phantom? I could see that.
So we're building our cast.
I now see Carrie as De La Cruz now. Because De La Cruz is older, he's more established. And even though Christina's younger, there's still that bit of that tension. Because, he's a charming dude. And back then, older guys married.
She could have done worse. I mean, I don't know. And he is a professor dedicated to disproving the paranormal. Like, your dinner conversations will never get old with that guy.
Right?
Like, so how was your day, dear? Well...
We went to this house that thought it was haunted, but it turns out there were secret recordings all over the place. Photographs in every closet.
He's like the Scooby Gang, but distinguished.
If Shaggy wasn't such a pothead.
Right? And French.
Well, French just makes everything better.
True.
Mm-hmm.
And I love Claudette. Like she's like the perfect bestie.
Yes, she's so adorable, and I picture you don't know the actress at all. Because I think of Claudette as being a redhead, which I don't know if she actually describes her as being a redhead.
So let's see, Claudette.
She's Irish. That much I know. So because she's Irish, that just immediately my head goes redhead.
And she's pretty young. Oh, is she older than Christine or younger than?
I think she's about Christine's age.
And Christine's 19, right?
Mm-hmm. I think we would have to cast an unknown straight from Ireland.
Yeah. So maybe someone known in Ireland, but not known here. So if anyone has any idea.
Karen Gillan.
Who?
Karen Gillan. She was from...
Oh, yes.
Oh, no, she might be good as Christine.
Ooh.
Right? Because she could be blonde. She could be blonde. Like a darker blonde. So it would be like this compromise for us.
She was the reason. My husband comes home one night and he goes, "Babe, we're going to have a movie night tonight." And I'm like, "Oh, you want to watch a movie with me?" Because he hates watching movies. So I'm like, "Okay, what movie are we watching?" He goes, "Jumanji 2." And like 20 minutes into the movie, this chick shows up in like booty shorts and a midriff top. I'm like, so this is why you wanted to watch the movie. It doesn't really matter if I'm here. And he's like, what? No, we cuddled. Don't talk to me.
Husbands.
Dance fighting and be awesome.
Right? Her dance fighting in that movie was pretty epic.
Yeah, I was a fan of her by the end of the movie. I started following her on Instagram and doing all my normal weird things.
She's really adorable. I've been a fan of her since Doctor Who when she was in her kissogram uniforms, when she was dressed up like a police officer.
She seems like she would be really fun to hang out with.
I think so too.
So possible Christine.
Yeah, I think she'll make a good Christine. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we basically have almost the whole cast. I know I haven't met Carlotta yet, but I know she's coming.
I've got an idea for Carlotta that you will totally go for, and I don't want to tell you who it is until you meet her. And I can't wait for you to meet her because I love my villains, and even though she's not a villain per se, but she's antagonistic to Christine. No spoilers here if you've seen the musical, but I just love how she's deliciously evil. That's the only way to put it. And
she's like the best mean girl.
Yes, she's the best mean girl, and you just love her for all the reasons you're not supposed to.
So, am I gonna be texting you going, "This bitch"?
Oh yes, because I was a little annoyed that you weren't reading this when I was reading it because I wanted to text you that. In fact, I actually texted her that. In those messages that I was giving to Heather, I was like, "This bitch you wrote."
So we're probably gonna have like an entire mini episode devoted to Carlotta. I have a feeling.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I think that's
like, kind of have to be a little bitchy. There are some names that just require.
She is a diva. Heather and I actually had a bit of a discussion on this. This is the original divas they were the operetta singers. And this is where the term diva came from. Well, from people like Carlotta. So, I mean, she was OG diva.
I can see her, I can picture her in my mind. And I remember from the film what she was like. But I feel like the book is going to give me kind of like a more modern, even though it's the same time period, like a more modern image of her.
Have you watched Mozart in the Jungle?
I have.
Okay, the person I'm thinking of for Carlotta is in Mozart in the Jungle.
Ooh, oh, is it I forget what, the redhead?
No, not Bernadette Peters. No, I love Bernadette Peters. She only did like 1 or 2 episodes, so you're not going to know offhand. So this is.
Ooh,
I would love to.
Now.
Oh, I don't know if we could totally cast Bernadette Peters as Madame V.
Ooh, yes.
Right? Or does Madame V need to be older?
Yes, we need her to be older, and Bernadette has that classy, sophisticated.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we have Madame.
Yes, because I just love Bernadette. She's one of my. When she does comedy, she does really great comedy. Like she was in The Jerk with Steve Martin. Oh,
yes.
And she's great in Mozart in the Jungle.
She is beautiful, and I mean, not that this was her, her best performance ever, but I mean, she even rocked in Grey's Anatomy.
Oh yeah,
she was in an episode. But I love her in Mozart in the Jungle, so I feel like
that's my actual favorite role of hers. This is going to be really obscure, guys. So talk about theater nerd right here. On Bravo, when they actually showed theater productions, back when it was classy, they did a production of Sundays in the Park with George.
That is very obscure.
Right? You can't even get the video now. I looked on Amazon, and the video is ridiculously expensive to get it on DVD. But she played it again opposite Mandy Patinkin, and and it was about the neo impressionist painter George S., the one who did all the dots.
Oh,
yeah,
I remember his name.
Yeah, and that was my first exposure to her, and that's where I fell in love with her acting, and that's where I was like, okay, I need to watch more of her, and I need to look up to her because she is really great. But yeah, Sundays in the Park with George with Mandy Patinkin. That's when I first saw her, and that is forever my favorite one. And I still remember the song where she's like singing about the baker who's actually paying attention to her, as opposed to George, who's obsessed with this painting, and she just shoves the bread in her mouth, and she's like, there, and I'm like, that right there, you are my hero.
Well, so we have Christine, we have Madame, we have the Phantom, and Professor Delacroix. We still need Raoul.
Yes.
And you
can pick. Raoul's going to be easy. We'll just pick out some young, pretty boy who's been on some sort of freeform television show.
And who flits. We need a flitter.
Totally flit. Yeah, I think that could be totally anybody can be Raoul for that. We can
like. Well, I mean, I'm dating myself here because, like, some freeform random teenager, like, my mind goes to the OC. So I was thinking of...
You're dating yourself. Wow, I feel, even though I'm older than you, I feel so much younger because I'm, like, switched at birth.
I never watched that show. I didn't even know that Shailene Woodley came from that show. I first experienced her in Divergent.
Yeah, and then there's that one that's going on now with the Demon Hunter one, based on the series. Huh?
Oh, Nashville?
No, the Demon Hunter one.
Demon
Hunter one. Unless you count country singers as demon hunters.
No, I heard the country one. The Shadowhunters one?
Yes. Yes.
I haven't watched. I've watched like an episode of that, and I was like, okay.
I watched a season and a half before I finally said this is even too cheesy for me. Somebody from that would work pretty well.
Could be.
Yeah. Yeah. It's Freeform's got a lot to choose from. Just pick from any one of them. But yeah, I can't wait for you to get to the Phantom more because I mean he's starting to make an appearance because she's starting to hear these voices in her head.
Yeah, it's starting to get a little like she, they did the seance and it was already the angel of music and she doesn't know what that means, which is creepy. And the thunder, I don't want to talk about seances right now, but so it's already starting. So I'm very interested to see what happens now that it's going to start getting good.
When I was reading this, even before I started reading the book that needs to be on the show, because this is a book that blends the two things that Michele and I love. It's got the historical fiction that I really enjoy, which is not even, it's hard for me it's historical fiction in the sense that the time period and the setting is important, but they're not necessarily real historic events. It feels more like a fairy tale retelling because it's the Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah, it's like a unique genre in itself.
Yeah. It's a little bit of fairy tale retelling, it's a little bit of historical fiction, and it's a whole lot of suspense, which is great. And Heather, I have to say, we've been obsessing about the characters. I think it's a real compliment to Heather when she's able to build really great characters.
Especially characters that, for the most part, I mean, the Professor and Madame and all of them, maybe not, but Christine and the Phantom and Raoul, we already know them, so it's pretty amazing that a writer can recreate them in a way that makes us feel differently about them or change the way that we've perceived them this whole time.
Absolutely, yeah. So, I mean, she's done a great job with this book, and this is a really great book. So if you guys haven't picked it up, go to our website, winewomenworkspodcast.com. We have the 3W bookstore. And in there, you can go ahead and get your copy so you can read it in time for Heather to come on, because we will be taking questions from you guys. So if you guys have questions ahead of time that you want to have us ask Heather, feel free to hit us up with those. And that will be a spoiler-filled episode. I am sorry, but when Heather comes on, we're going to be talking about the whole book, and it's just going to be riddled with spoilers. So you're going to want to get the book and just devour it before Heather comes on.
Yes, that is solid advice.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And then we're going to be back on Thursday, this Thursday at 7 p.m. I am actually going to be on the show with Abby. I can't even pronounce her last name.
I think.
Yeah. I want to say Fibonacci, but that's a Fibonacci mathematical sequence, and I'm surprised I actually know that.
That's the Da Vinci Code. That's a different book.
Different book. But we're going to have Abby, who is the author of I Like My Life, on the show. And since Michele can't join us, I know. But we've got Stacy coming back. For those of you who may or may not remember, Stacy is she is a book blogger and an Instagrammer and a girl about town who reads pretty much all the same books that we read. This is why we're friends with her. And she's read I Like My Life, and so she's going to be guest hosting with me on Thursday. So we'll have a fun night of chatting with Abby.
Yes, and if my lecture wraps up early, then I might pop in. So hopefully I'll get to join you guys. But if not, everyone else should definitely tune in because it'll be a good episode.
Yes, and so join us on Thursday. Pick up a copy of The Phantom's Apprentice and read with us. And don't forget to go to www.trywink.com/www podcast to get $22 off your first order of wine. And you guys can totally thank me later when you guys have really delicious wine delivered straight to your door.
True story.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for joining in on our mini episode tonight. We hope we perked your Monday up a little bit.
And it's not even really a mini episode because we've gone for like 50 minutes, haven't we?
I know. It's shut up.
There's so much time when we're together. Or Michele and Diana time.
Yes, I know. It's been like a whole week. It's been too long.
Mm-hmm. It really has. So thanks, guys. Have a great night. We'll see you Thursday.
Bye.
Bye.